Today's video is all about Arweave, permanent information storage. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals, the team, the tokenomics, utility, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. And the question is Arweave the opportunity? Guys, this is an interesting project. A lot of people buzzing about it. We have a lot of good hype. We're going to be looking into some of the details regarding this organization, regarding the tokenomics, everything that we need to know to get fundamentally bullish. Of course, we're going to be using the main website and any documentation that the team has provided, official documentation that the team has provided, so that we can, try to figure out what this thing is all about. We're going to use the website, and of course, we're looking from a retail investor perspective. Like, ultimately, in this bull run, we want to ensure that these projects have everything they need ready to be available at the fingertips of those retail investors, ready to deploy capital, and ultimately give us that detail so that we can get bullish. All right, guys, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this website. Nice, simple, clean, crisp web landing page, arweave.org. The Arweave network is like Bitcoin, but for data. Okay, so it's permanent and decentralized web inside an open ledger. Okay, so this is interesting. Of course, it uses blockchain technology, its own iteration, its own consensus algorithm, and so on and so forth. Permanent storage is where it's going at here. Permanent storage has many applications, from preservation of humanity's most important data. Of course, immutability is one of the things that gives us a lot of interest in the space, right? Not being able to, falsify information or alter information. And ultimately, in this case, hosting of truly decentralized and provable neutral web applications. So, which is important because ultimately decentralizations reduces the ability of having a central choke point for data feed, right? And really, decentralization for what we're looking at here in the crypto space is the maximum utility overall. So, decentralization is something that I look for when I start looking for projects, and their vision for decentralization, it definitely aligns. The Arweave protocol is stable, mature, widely adopted. Okay, as such, the ecosystem is fully decentralized. Fine. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, dive in. Rabbit hole is deep. Okay, so ecosystem is important. Obviously, we want to know what they have going on in the ecosystem. In my opinion, at the current moment, they have their decentralized storage, utility, of course, but anything above and around that is infrastructure. So, which is good, because at least they have an infrastructure to house or deploy other projects. And of course, there are projects right now that are being spoken about. AO, which is an application that's going to be launching very soon. And ultimately, obviously, that's a separate deep dive. That's a separate token, a separate project on top of Arweave that we need to focus on. But still very bullish from a fundamental perspective for Arweave. Okay, so let's continue going down. We have actually, there's no more down. You can see that we got 4 general tabs: discover, use, which you can click here and start digging away at other web pages. Make your homepage on permaweb. So that's their main idea. Here's permanent web storage. You can make a page there on permaweb. Unleash the power of permanent web. More information regarding that. Arweave events, a calendar telling you about what's happening in the future, different events. So this is almost could be considered like an active roadmap, no doubt, but I'm not sure if they're really putting where information regarding what's happening next for the Arweave protocol. So this is very important, because there's no real official roadmap with targets and timelines and things like that. However, they do provide a lot of documentation with regards to keeping the market up to date with what's happening, and obviously the calendar is one way to keep organized, right? So there is a sense of nowadays, there is a sense of requirement to have an official roadmap. A lot of projects are finding other ways to circumvent having that, and being creative in other ways, like this one, and I do appreciate it. However, guys, as an investor, as an individual wants to know where the efforts are being placed in the next little while, particularly capital or efforts as far as the team goes, human capital, we definitely want to know where their focus is going to be applied to, so that we can make some real decisions as to how we allocate capital. So it's very important that that happens, but at least they are able to provide that information. So I just want to make that a side note. Explore the wiki if you want to know more about it, guys. We'll take a look at the wiki in a second, as I think that's where you're going to get a little bit more information about the Arweave project. Now, as I was doing research, one of the things that were kind of bothering me was that there was no typical, I'm going to use the word typical because of course, I do a lot of deep dives, guys. This is probably around my 80th deep dive that I've done. And, I got used to reading documentation. I got used to the standard of documentation. And really, Arweave doesn't get to the standard. Why? Because it's just like the information is spread everywhere. And it's fine. It's there. You just got to dig. It's there, but it's not really there because it's just spread everywhere and you don't know where to look and where to find. What I've noticed is that, I've come accustomed to and appreciated the book standard, where all the vital information is clearly laid out on a Git book that can be regularly updated, and the team could go in there and make some alterations as needed. But right here we have other types of formats that are also decent, but just very spread. So the packaging is quite confusing, and there's a lot to dig, right? It's a good thing if you want to dig, but I'm thinking that an additional Git book just to summarize everything in a very nice, succinct way would be very useful, especially for those people that don't know much and ultimately shy away from having such a deep amount of information. Like, for example, here, the deep dive, check out the latest on Arweave news. Okay, you want to know about Arweave and their news. Parameter pioneers. Okay, that's interesting. The permacast, so some podcasts. Explore the ecosystem. So there's a little bit of ecosystem there, but I'm just going to let you know. It's, for example, let's open this in a new tab in a second. It is not that developed yet. It's in its transition from being an infrastructure with very little to becoming an infrastructure with a lot. This is why I am saying that Arweave right now is buzzing. A lot of people are buzzing about it because I feel like the sense of growth with regards to ecosystem is definitely there. Now, if we keep on going down, we have some logos, which a lot of people have been kind of like, reluctant of seeing Meta. Meta ultimately, from my perspective, having Meta and Instagram is not a positive, but therefore it also is not a negative per se, right? It's an institution nowadays, right? We got to think about it as such, and it has this institution, played a positive role in the tech space, and can we trust it? Is it something that is meant to be trusted? So it is, Meta trusts Arweave, but do we trust Meta? That is the question. And having that involvement, is it a valuable thing, or is it something where we're basically critical about following the typical arrangements that we've had in the past by these large companies? So ultimately, I don't know if it's a good thing. I personally don't really appreciate it, having involvement with Meta and Instagram. I know that there is buzz of other traditional, quote unquote, traditional media outlets getting involved, which of course is good for publicity, it's good for capital and all of that kind of stuff. But really, as far as the fundamentals goes with regards to your own data and so on, I am not too keen on attaching these names to that vision. Okay, so just a side note. Now, I did open up the ecosystem in its own tab, so let's go check that out. You can see we got some like Orbit, like these are very small project aftermarket, they're very small, so I'm going to keep them very at bay at this current moment. I think the major one is coming around, and it's AO. That's the one that a lot of people are really interested in. Now there's Arc Code Studio, there's quite a bit Rdrive, there's a lot happening, our fleet, but there's very little, and in my opinion they're very small. Now again, there's a lot of speculation, right? There's a lot of speculation. Arweave wallet, they got a wallet and so on. Arweave a name service if you're looking for deploying a decentralized website and so on. So there's a lot of little applications that definitely look good. But as I mentioned, we're looking for others, right? DChat, Decentraland, like, there's a lot of them that up just yet. So is Arweave in the ecosystem growth phase? Yes, it is. It's a part of the incubator program on a lot of cases. There's some NFTs. You can see they got a lot, but nothing that's picking up with strength. Okay, so keep that in mind, because I do feel like the major player at the current moment is AO, which we'll touch upon very, very quickly and briefly, because that's a separate deep dive on its own. Now, if we go into what is Arweave, again, basically the protocol is secured by open and decentralized network of miners who store and replicate data in exchange for AR token and rewards. Just keep in mind that this project right now has the ability to earn. So it is earning because there is a model of which people have to pay to use their services. So a lot of the times when we've seen projects, deploy and they don't have a way of monetization, it's troublesome, because really what happens is all they're doing is printing or giving away tokens or issuing tokens as rewards where they have no way of recuperating that back, and ultimately, causing tokens or coins to enter circulation without any way of bringing them back in is not a good thing, right? So this is a positive thing for Arweave, so that's good. So people are still being able to earn rewards without diluting. Pretty much explore the permaweb. So this is another thing that we got to understand. The main value proposition here is to have a decentralized storage solution where it's permanently stored, hosted on Arweave, right? So this is the value. This is the core. If you've been an OG in this space, you know exactly what Arweave has been up to, because Arweave and other decentralized storage protocols have been basically fighting for the same market cap. And ultimately, I think Arweave is doing pretty good here because they're slowly transitioning to other attributes, AI and so on and so forth. And again, it's in its transitionary phase to, extend that ecosystem to something bigger other than having smaller little projects on the side. Now, if you look at some of the articles, they're pretty great. They have some universal data licensing, an idea. Basic usage is the most basic form. Licensing tag, referencing transaction IDs. So a lot of good stuff. Storing all the data on the web. So if you want to learn about that. What is Arweave? Just a general idea. Sustainable endowment. Permaweb. Again, they talk about the permaweb. It's not that complicated. The reality is it's decentralized storage. And if you provide the storage, you get rewarded. And the consensus mechanism is their own. They came up with their own, which we'll talk about in a second. So all of this is really, really bullish, but a very simple protocol at the current moment. Now, again, they're building, and there's the complexity and the values are going to be coming in as they keep on building. Okay, so let's keep on going. Draft. So if you're looking into more about the permanent information storage protocol of Arweave, right, here are all the major players of the team that drafted this white paper. This is a very technical white paper. It's not a very typical crypto white paper. Okay, this is a technical white paper, very different. If you're in the tech space, you kind of seen this before. You can tell that these individuals are academics. They understand what technical white papers look like, and this is it. Now, this is way far and beyond the depth that we should be getting into here in the crypto space. Obviously, I encourage you guys to do your research, but you can see we get it down to the physics, we get down to the math, we get down to the core of how the protocol works and all of that good stuff, and it's great. Obviously from an educational perspective to know what's happening here. However, from an investor perspective, that might be a little bit too much. So you can see that the packaging so far is quite revolved around the technical know-how of the protocol, which is fine. But what about the rest of it? So when I first started doing the research on Arweave, I was like, okay, well, what about the tokenomics? What about the distribution, the emission schedule? What about the team? What about the this? What about the that? Now, of course, with regards to tokenomics, there is none. Why? Because this is fully distributed. So this is why maybe they feel like that information is not necessary any longer. Okay, so you can see that they kind of don't talk about it. Is it necessary to talk about? I say yes. Just because you're in full distribution and all the tokens are in circulation, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't address it, because it would be a bullish thing to talk about. It would be a positive, and explain why that is bullish. And we, again, a lot of projects don't feel the need or feel the responsibility to educate the retail investor or the investor in general, a person that is coming in that's interested. I think it's their way of getting people involved, right? If you want people to be bullish, say, hey, all tokens are in circulation, and what that means is that you're not running the risk of getting dumped on, right? There's no risk of dilution over time. There's no distribution. There's nothing like that. All the tokens are already out there, evenly distributed in a very healthy way across multiple wallets. And what I did do is go look at that. It's fine. We got Binance having a decent amount of liquidity. Obviously, that's necessary. And then the rest of the wallets are fairly distributed nicely. And you can see their balances are good. And that's fine. You can keep on going down page after page and look at all the wallets that own and that hold Arweave. Yes, there's some bigger ones, but obviously it's well distributed. So we don't run the risk of being rugged. We don't run the risk of any of that. So maybe their decision not to provide those tokenomics and all those details is because what's the point of talking about it? But I feel like there's always a point of educating. Okay, so part of education is setting out the bullishness that is required in order for an individual to buy and accumulate, and especially buy and accumulate when the market gives us a correction. Okay, so that's the hardest time to buy, right? When we see a correction. Now, if we know that there's no risk of dilution, we know that basically a dip is just a profit-taking event, and which is normal. But if a person doesn't know that, then they might think, oh, is something happening where people are dumping or something, or is there a token unlock or something like that? So education is key, guys. I know I'm rambling on, but education is key, and I think that would be very useful. So a typical GitHub, wrap this all up into a nicer format, because there's tons of different tabs, guys. So if we go back to the website again, you can see I have no choice but to keep on going back and forth here. There's a lot happening, right? A lot. And then there's the build section. If you want to become a builder or a developer on the protocol, on the chain, there's incubation, there's a lot of support, you can get funding, there's information, you can join the Discord, you can ask questions. I did join the Discord, guys. There's not a lot happening there, to be honest. It's quite a disappointment, in fact. I joined the Discord, asked a question, I never got a response. There's no community, unfortunately. Like, I don't know if I'm in the wrong Discord. I know I'm not. I see Arweave clearly. I'm like, how could this be? People are buzzing about it. This is an interesting project, and there's no real buzz on there. There's no Telegram group. There's, the socials are okay. We'll talk about that obviously in a bit more details on what's happening on X. Obviously, we got to focus mostly on X and what's happening there, because that's where all the magic really does happen with regards to community building. However, Discord and Telegram are a must-have nowadays, and you need to have a community manager that's going to be there helping or rallying the people up and getting community and conversation happening. That's how you generate that buzz. So I understand that they're a very typical tech company. If you look at their documentation, it is so typical, a lot of very technical physics white paper type of scenario. However, guys, they got to step in with the marketing a little bit better, because again, this is just a little bit all over the place. The cookbook, explore the cookbook. You build on permawed. Great. There's a lot of information, but again, scattered. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. This is the ecosystem, which I appreciate, but still I'm looking for strength, and the strength is going to be coming in right here. Okay, and the strength is coming in right this hyper parallel computer. This is what's causing the majority of the buzz, and you can see that even based on their main page, it is buzzing at the current moment, right? So you can mint, read, and build. Obviously, if you hold Arweave, you're going to be given the ability to earn or receive tokens and so on. There's a mechanism there to reward individuals that are holding Arweave. Go check that out. Part of the farming narrative or farming tasks that you may have to do. I'm not well versed in that, so I would suggest suggest that you do go research, but this is the project that a lot of people are waiting for and anticipating that it could spark some fire in Arweave, right? This is going to be a separate token as far as my understanding goes, and there's a separate, very technical white paper, once again, written by technical individuals, right? So the AO protocol, decentralized open access supercomputer that's going to be built on Arweave. So the supercomputer now is going to require, obviously based on definition, software and hardware. And from the hardware perspective, it has its infrastructure for decentralized storage. Now, what about decentralized compute and so on and so forth, right? So we're talking about a bit of deep in here. We're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about a lot of value proposition going forward, because ultimately it's bouncing off of the Arweave infrastructure in general, which has the protocol itself has been very successful. So I feel like the back end is going to be very strong. So you can see, once again, as we scroll through, guys, you got to be a little bit have the technical know-how as to what's going on here, compute units and then this and that, related work and actor model and this and that. They do have their own their own way of doing things as far as the Internet Computer Protocol. ICP shares some objectives with AO. So if you're an ICP fan, you might like the AO protocol as well, such that it has a decentralized fabric and computation environment, and so much obviously added different value propositions from a competitive perspective, because we can see these supercomputer scenarios, decentralized supercomputers or computing in general is a hot topic in that deep in narrative. So really interesting, of course. And if that's what interests you guys, what we should be doing is focusing on how Arweave is going to get benefited from AO and how we could get involved in AO when the token does launch. Okay, so this deep dive is not about AO, but I felt like I needed to kind of mention that this is what's causing a lot of the interest in the space currently. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's talk about what the progress is here on this project and look what they're doing. Again, back to Arweave. We're focusing on Arweave here. Arweave, they don't have a white paper, but they keep everybody quite updated. Now you can see their blog. It hasn't been posted in for a good while, right? So I feel like they've been relying on X a lot more, but this is unfortunate. Like, about a year ago, this is March 2nd, 2023. That's their last post. Like, that's a long time ago, guys. They need to keep up with it in order to keep, especially if they don't have a roadmap or an active roadmap or something like that, they should have that. So a side note. Now, if you go on X, they have a lot happening here. They got, 102,000 followers, which is decent. They're posting. The last post that they did was December 5th. Okay, meet the primary name protocol for the Arweave name system. This is going on for their ecosystem growth, which is good. Their whole gateway and all of that, which is good. Own your content, own your future. Of course, that decentralized storage. All your data should be yours, and it should be immutable and protected by the blockchain. Okay, this is the major value proposition so far. Now, as we keep on going down, right, there's a lot more happening here. Lots of engagement. You can say Arweave India, you have Arweave Oasis, you got lots of stuff happening, to the point that, as I'm scrolling through, I could have, we could say that they are pushing a lot towards ecosystem growth right now. And it's a good thing. I just feel like we're just at the beginning. So understanding that the ecosystem is young and small actually encourages the speculation. So if I say their ecosystem is not the greatest and they're pushing, that means that there's opportunity for growth there, guys. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's that. And we'll talk about their metrics on X in a second. Now, as far as the team goes, the team is pretty decent. I'll admit, this is an all-star team. Arweave.org, I went in here. They're fully doxed. I'm just going to let you know that their profiles are readily available if you want to go check who they are. We got the founder. We got everybody. And what I do usually is focus on tech. I focus on who are the individuals that are pushing the tech forward. Obviously, the CEO, Sam Williams, CEO and founder, research and creator of Arweave protocol. He's the one that's mostly speaking on a lot of the AMAs and all of that on socials, on YouTube and so on, which is great, right? So you can see he's a mentor and founder of other organizations, which kind of like, I question, a little bit as to, is he spread too thin here? How much focus is he really putting on Arweave? But sometimes you're just a mentor, or just get kind of involved on a board of directors or something. It's not that big of a deal, but he is doing a great job leading Arweave at the current moment. So I am bullish on that 100%. His education, computer science, PhD in computer science, stacked, ready to go, full confidence right there. And then you keep on going. Another full stack developer, building things, hyper buildings, AO, and the perma web. You can see that just to clarify, AO is in-house, built in-house. So it's not like it's a third party or a separate dev team. It's the same team. It's the same group that is expanding upon their current tech stack, which is useful to know that we're going to get maximum compatibility and all of that. So he's a software engineer, a lot of good stuff here. Software engineer, lead full stack developer. We got a heavyweight team here. Another full stack developer, lots of good stuff here. Talent. This is what we look for. Software engineer, and so on and so forth. Blockchain developer since 2023. And as we keep on going, guys, there's a lot here. We have another Arweave software engineer, deep learning, AI, stuff like that. And I'm going to just keep on going. Founding product lead. We got a lot happening here. Okay, so this is an all-star team. And if I go back to the original post, you can see that they got a lot more. I just looked at the majority of the tech. They have lawyers, people that are involved in the law. They have some VCs all involved as well to help raise capital. Architects, Vibes architect, of course, marketing, perhaps that's what he's going with. Operations, new hire experience, program manager. There's so much. Like, this team is stacked. They got a big team with a lot of talent, and crypto law compliance. Like, of course, why not have that involved, have that talent involved? So bullish on the team, 100%. All right, guys, so we're slowly going through it. So again, just to recap quickly, it is so far the sense that we should be getting, it is a decentralized storage protocol with the possibility of expanding into a decentralized compute narrative, the hyper parallel computer with AO. That's the value. That's the vision for the future. Now, if we go into their X, there's a lot happening. We already looked into their X already. If we already looked on chain, it was good. And if we go back to the overall website, you can see that it seems like it's underdeveloped, right? I feel like there's gaps. I feel like I'm missing out on stuff. And that's because, technically speaking, the main website doesn't have everything in a nice compact way. Okay, so that's my overall thing right now is with Arweave. I wish we could talk about a little bit more, but the good thing here is that tokens are all in distribution. All right, guys, so I do give you a quick roundup of all these details in an infographic that I'm going to release, and I'm going to put it on all over the socials. This was an easy one. It was a quick one. So let's talk about this and do a quick summary. Ecosystem. AO, decentralized computing system, is what everybody is really buzzing about. Okay, so this right here, essentially that AO. Now, we know that there's a lot more happening with those smaller projects that are built. They got their wallet, they got their this, they got all kinds of little things happening. This is why I give them 7 out of 10, because I think that ultimately what we're leaving is a little bit of room for AO to actually show us its value. Okay, it's one thing to talk speculation, and one thing to actually see its true value and its true colors. As of now, unfortunately, the Arweave price hasn't really shown me too much, and this what usually kind of bothers me, especially when there's a lot of buzz and there's a lot of hype behind a decent innovation and progress. If there's no volume and there's no market interest, what is happening here? There's a disconnect, a little bit of disconnect. So the utility, paying for permanent data storage, like I mentioned, there's ways of them earning, and which is important. They're able to earn because when you want to store something permanently, you pay a one-time fee in Arweave, and those individuals that are running the network and the nodes and getting in the mining and all of that, they are getting rewarded based off of those rewards. Some of it is going to go back to running everything and getting Arweave off the ground, and this is how we treat Arweave as a decentralized business. Ultimately, it needs to. So that's good. Mining rewards, a decentralized application ecosystem, and community and governance. Of course, it is backed by a DAO. There is governance happening here where you could get involved involved and make help the team make some decisions. And to the degree of that, it all depends on how many tokens you actually hold. So this is also very typical. Roadmap is, not there, but a lot of the updates on all the other publications like blogs and Twitter and so on, and the calendar, these are great, but they're in my opinion, they've never really substituted an official roadmap that is active. Now, I've seen blogs that work very well, and because what they do is make the blogs based on timing. And a calendar. So basically, it's a combination between calendar and blog that makes it like a roadmap. So you can go on and click on different time schedules on the calendar, and basically you can read upon what their vision is on that date, which is a roadmap, but it's a running document, very interactive and easy to keep up to date. So I would like to see something like that. I know a lot of software devs don't really want to hold themselves accountable to timing because it's very difficult. And I get that. I get the industry very, very well. However, guys, I'm not saying it has to be on the daily or the hourly. We want to know exactly what's maybe happening quarterly, right? So in the distant future, obviously, but not so don't leave so much to the unknown. That poses a little bit of risk because we don't know where they're going with things. Okay, so roadmaps are necessary. Team stacked, well-balanced team, very talented, lots of everything. They have enough counsel there to get this team, get this project going. 10 out of 10, nothing to worry about there in my book. Socials, the X followers, they have 102,000 followers, which is good. They're up in the last a little while, in the last 30 days, they're up 113% in comparison to the previous 30 days. So they're pumping, which is good. 72 X posts for the last 30 days, which equates to about, let's say on average, about 2 posts per day, which is good, up 10%. So they realize that now's the time to market. However, I don't understand why they don't have a Telegram or their Discord is so muddled. There's nothing happening there. There should be buzz over there. I'm total now. If there's a different Discord for AO, and I hope there isn't, where the traffic is going to the AO community and pulling away from Arweave, that's an unfortunate thing, because technically they're one in either, basically they're one, or AO is a part of the same tech stack and built by the same team, and Arweave in itself should be benefiting from its social as well. So from a marketing communication perspective, there's some disconnect there, right? Where's the community behind Arweave? I don't know where to find it, and I feel like maybe that needs to provide a little bit of clarity. Maybe their website needs to have something. I don't know, guys. I would have to obviously stick around a little bit more and see what happens in the next little while with Arweave. Tokenomics, 10 out of 10. Why 10 out of 10? Because literally there's no issue here. If the tokens are 100% in circulation, why are we worried? Now, if we look on chain, we did already. We saw a lot of these, the wallets were well distributed. The largest one is on Binance. Obviously, they need to have the liquidity, which is good, because you could sell when you need, right? It's not like you're holding a lot of tokens and you're going to have a hard time selling at the peak of the bull run or whatever. There's lots of liquidity, which is great, and the distribution is decentralized amongst many wallets. What is the concern? Why is it necessary to have a tokenomics page on the white paper? Well, just for educational purposes. And if you're thinking about sales, which ultimately what you're trying to do is sell Arweave to the crypto community, to show people that it's bullish, one of the things that you could do is educate them on their tokenomics and how their tokenomics is bullish. And I still stand by that. Relationships trusted by Meta. Guys, I didn't see any very critical relationships that I needed to focus on, other than the ones where Meta and Facebook, Instagram, and those two popped out, and for me, I don't think it's a good thing, personally speaking. I don't know why, and of course, there's some buzz about YouTube and buzz about other ones, and I don't know to the extent that relationship is about, but I know the extent of which how the crypto community doesn't appreciate those types of relationships with traditional media, and we know why. We know why. There's no sense of talking about it. We know why we don't like that. We don't consider those viable relationships, and for me, I'm very critical about them. You know, prove me wrong. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Ultimately, you know, capital is capital. Relationships that are, you know, with big players are obviously going to provide opportunity, whether you like it or not. But from a fundamental perspective of what crypto and blockchain technology is meant, I don't know how Meta and Instagram relate and provide value. That's my opinion. Exchanges, great, lots of exchanges. These are just some of the bigger ones, the mid tiers, and then of course Binance, but no Coinbase. So is that still an opportunity going forward? 100%. Gets listed on Coinbase. We're going to see Arweave thrive a little bit more. There's still a lot of value here in having all the rest of them all involved. Of course, all of the liquidity available is great for Arweave. So bullish, obviously, less of an opportunity for more exchange listings, but we're still missing Coinbase. Just to wrap that up. Now, Arweave currently is right around that $27, guys, from when I did the research. Obviously, this is not as current as this minute, and depending on when you're watching it, Arweave's volume has kind of like, you know, teeter-tottered in the last little while. I would have expected a little bit more. It is 10% of the market cap, which is good, because 10% of the market cap is one of my sweet spots. I like between you know, maybe 5 to 15%. If I can see something like that, we're doing okay. For a lot of an increase or a decrease in a particular direction. Basically, what you want to see is that market participation exists. Whether it's sell-off or buy-up, whichever way we go, you have to be prepared regardless. And if it's a sell-off, I want to see a volume so I know how to defend myself. And if it's a buy-up, I want to know exactly if there's volume so that I can prepare, you know, to, you know, ride the wave to the upside. Either way, we want to know where the volume's at. And at the current moment, 10% is not bad. So market cap, like I mentioned, right now we're looking for true value, which means that we're not risking dilution. We're not, you know, raising capital in the sense that the supply, you can see supply and max supply are pretty much diluted. There are some tokens not really accounted for, and usually that happens with burning and things like that, and at the current moment, or lost tokens or anything. But at the current moment, the team justifies a fully diluted, basically everything's in circulation and nothing to worry about there. So pretty good. You can see the fully diluted valuation and the market cap are exact, and that's how they are listed on CoinGecko. So good stuff. Tokenomics, there's no real sense of threat whatsoever. And my overall verdict, guys, this was an easy deep dive, to be honest. And the reason why is literally this narrative is not that new. This narrative of decentralized storage has been around even in the previous cycle. Actually, Arweave and Filecoin are still main competitors. I feel like Arweave is trying to push away with their new AO token and protocol, and ultimately adding value with regards to AI through that protocol, which is really, really good. But in addition, they're just adding a layer to their tech stack, which is good. So that's a separate deep dive. That's something that we got to talk about on a separate deep dive. But currently, Arweave should benefit from the hype of AO. Okay, this is one thing that we have to understand. It is EVM and it is cross-chain, so which is good. EVM compatibility makes you know, Arweave basically deployable on other chains that use the Ethereum virtual machine, which is useful and great to attract you know, capital from other chains. Documentation regarding token distribution would be helpful to educate new capital. I already described that. And in addition to all of this, I want to add something else, is that the overall packaging should be a little bit better and a little bit more user friendly or research friendly. There's too much happening on too many tabs and too many different posts and too many different websites and too many things happening. I think it needs a consolidation. I think the main website, the main landing page on those 4 tabs at the bottom should have a documentation tab that takes you straight directly to a Git book that lays it all out very nicely. We don't need to get super technical in that Git book. We talk about tokenomics, we talk about the team, we talk about roadmap, we talk about all the typical things that a typical crypto project white paper should have. Not a technical white paper, which they've done a great job, but we got to move on from that because we're looking for crypto information, and to have to dig through all of it is just so daunting, especially for an individual that, you know, might find it a little bit threatening, or, you know, they're insecure about what they're looking at. And of course, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So we want to make it easy. We want to make it transparent and clear. Team is doxed, which is great and blessed. Obviously, we want to know the talent. We don't want to know who they are. obviously, and because they're, you know, behind the governance, which is good. The way the protocol functions and behaves is decentralized to a degree. Documentation, again, what I said, not in a friendly way. Proof of access, is there consensus mechanism used by Arweave to maintain the integrity and availability of its data storage network. So you get rewarded based on your ability to provide access to the data. If you're floppy, if you're not consistent, if you're not providing access to the data at any given point, you're not going to get as rewarded. You're going to be punished. And a lot of chains actually use those words. You know, you're going to be punished if you do not provide quality instead of, you know, and you must provide commitment. That's basically it. Commitment and quality. And here, proof of access is what generally assesses that, and you get rewarded based on those terms. Okay, so pretty good stuff. I appreciate that because it encourages quality rather than volume. Discord, very little activity. Unfortunate, guys. Like, very unfortunate. It's important to have a community where people can, you know, talk and ask questions, and there should be a community member there, you know, ready to answer and create that hype and so on. No Telegram, which is rare. Now, again, maybe they do have one, but I couldn't find the link on their website. If they do have one, an official one, they should provide it on the website. As of now, there isn't anything there that I was able to find. Okay, so that's that. And then again, my price projection. What do I think this is going to do? So let's back that up a second, because I know I have a nice number there that, you know, is pretty healthy. I would like to compare Arweave with Filecoin still, because that's what we did in the last cycle, and which was interesting, which is still Arweave is lagging behind. In fact, Arweave was lagging a lot more behind than the previous cycle, and it caught up fairly well. Like, if you think about it, for it to catch up at this current moment, all it really needs is a 2.7x, okay, let's say a 3x, to really catch up and beat Filecoin. And I think it's very possible, especially Filecoin, which I do need to do an update on Filecoin. Speaking of updates and deep dives, guys, if you want me to do a deep dive on any project that you're interested in, join the Discord. And on the Discord, you can request and also vote on the deep dives. Guys, you guys choose the deep dives by voting, and I do the research and record the video. Okay, so I don't choose these deep dives, you guys do. So join the Discord. Okay, so what I was saying here is, you know, we can continue comparing Arweave with Filecoin, but really, does it do it justice this cycle? Not really. Look at this, 2.5x, it's nothing. But if we're looking at a deep-in infrastructure altogether and decentralized protocols that provide infrastructure, which is what Arweave's main value proposition is there going to be more capital flowing in from that perspective? I think so. I think that as the market cap grows, we've already broken above previous highs, above the $3 trillion. Now we're at about 3.7, 3.8 trillion, which is great. And as more capital comes in, we got to ask ourselves, is Arweave able to attract more market cap than Filecoin? That's the question. And the only way we're going to say yes, that's true, is if Arweave offers more utility and the value proposition includes something that would make us more fundamentally bullish. And you have to think about it like that. So this is why I'm very keen on saying that documentation and providing information to get people bullish on a website is so important, because right now it is time to attract capital. And if you want people to be bullish, you better make sure those white papers and all the data is readily available, which Arweave needs to do a better job putting that all together so it can attract way more capital than Filecoin. Now, I know you're probably saying there's other deep-in projects, but a lot of other ones don't focus just on decentralized storage. Arweave's bread and butter is right now currently still decentralized storage. I know that AO is expanding that utility going forward, but just keep that in mind. It's part of the tech stack as an additional token and an additional project that is built using the Arweave base chain. So this is something important that people have to understand. If AO does well, Arweave technically should do well also. So owning both would be a great thing to do, because you own the base chain and token coin, and then you own the token of AO. That keeps you within the same realm, the same ecosystem, which is good. So what do I say here? I say, look, there's no reason why Arweave can't do a 10x from what it is right now. There's no reason. I am totally modest here of saying 10x. Why not? It could do more, but I want to be modest here because I don't want to be a moon boy and I don't want to call moonshots. I say a projection of a 10x move is very possible once it reaches that level. If the market still shows us strength and capability, yeah, we could hold and trail up stop losses and take a bit of profit at different levels. But I'm saying right now, let's keep an eye because it could be very possible that we say Arweave do a 10x and reach about $300. I give Arweave an 8 out of 10, just given that there are some things that need to be clarified, and overall the perspective has to come from a retail investor to make things a little bit easier to understand. But generally speaking, Arweave is a beast. I like the project. I think it has a lot of value. I think that ultimately it's going to do great in this bull run, and the question is, should we be buying at this current moment? All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts as well. Let's take a look at what's going on with the Arweave chart, because ultimately Arweave, did come down for that correction. And if you've been following me here on the channel, you would have known that I was looking to accumulate within this range. Guys, I couldn't have made this arrow any bigger because you can see this was a great buy the dip opportunity. All right, guys, let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. What gets me really interested is how it respected the TA here. Now, I understand at this level, emotions were at its peak, and I understand if you didn't buy into this level. To be honest, I'm a holder for a long time, so for me it doesn't really matter. I really don't mind holding into red, but I do like buying into confirmations, and this was the confirmation low, the higher low that we've gotten a quick reaction at horizontal. It came down to hunt a bit of liquidity. It tried to fall through this volume gap. It didn't come down that deep, and you can see that the market was very interested in this pump. Look at all the volume that we got right here on this move to the upside. Now, I'm just going to make this very clear. It didn't make a higher high when in comparison to the previous high right here. It did break above the 200 EMA on the 4-day. Let's get on the daily here. You can see the different fractals. So this was the descending wedge, and we got another descending wedge right into this level that we broke above. That again, I was showing you on the live stream and on the daily updates. Lots of good volume to the upside, but we didn't really break anything major. The base of the wedge is the target, which is at about $34. And then after that, once we break above this high, it starts to look really interesting because we start to get out of this general structure, and we start looking for a break to the previous highs. Obviously, their local tops at 47, which is obviously bullish. Now, based on where we are right now, should you be buying at the current level? To be honest, it's difficult because you're buying into a pump. And I know it doesn't look like a lot, but what we could really do is measure, because you can get an idea of what kind of profits people are in that bought this breakout zone, right? So you can see right here from where we are down there to where we are right now, people are up 50% on spot at minimum. And if they're on margin positions or anything, just to let you know, guys, I got into a fairly big margin position on Arweave. It was one of my bigger ones in this move. And I took my profit right around here, and I rotated 50% of that profit into spot and 50% into cash on the side for a potential dip on the market, because I'm still feeling that we could get a correction any moment. I want to have some cash on the side just to be safe. Okay, so regardless, I was able to get a nice pop to the upside with margin, leverage position, small leverage, big margin, and then ultimately get into spot bags to get the rest of the pump, which was great. Now we are forming a structure. Now this is a daily time frame, and we can see a bit of hesitation here, which I appreciate because it gives us an opportunity to come up with a setup. Now we could even talk about the setup here on the daily, but I think the 4-day might be better. As you can see, we got the structure a little bit more clear here with the volume nice and clear. Now if we break below these bottoms, things look a little hectic. But there's not that much clarity. Why? Because we got a node of volume right below that could act as support. So what about if we did something like this? We bounced here. Okay, we come down, we get some support here, bounce here, and then come back down for another dead cat bounce. And then we start looking at this, and it looks like a nice rounded top. Guys, I like the rounded bottoms. I don't like the rounded tops. I like rounded bottoms because ultimately rounded bottoms get me excited. We start breaking below, we start falling through the volume gap, and then, things start to, look bad from a rounded top perspective. However, if we hold the neckline of these rounded configurations, they could act as support. And why I want to put this line here is because really this is the last line of support right around this level. There is a little bit of support right above. I'll be clear, like right around here where we are right now, there's a little bit, and you can see why. Look at the little volume gaps, and I'm going to highlight them so that we can get some more clarity out of them. Let's highlight the bigger one first, the most evident one, and you can see how nice it is respecting the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. And then we also, which is this orange line, and then we have this little one right here. Let's highlight that, and you can see there's a little bit of a volume gap that could allow the price to come and bounce right at the bottom of the volume gap. So let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see what I'm actually thinking here. If we do roll over, we can bounce all the way down, and it would start to look like a complex reversal structure with multiple little shoulders, 1-2 shoulders, double top scenario, maybe higher highs on the price action, excluding the wicks, because if we are going to look for divergence next, it might be where well, for sure we need to exclude the wicks on that, so we only include bodies, so it's slightly higher high, and then all of a sudden we get some follow through, and the follow through could be right shoulders, and it could be 2 or 3 of them, and that would be a complex, like say inverse head and shoulder. If this was one head, it would be a complex complex head and shoulder. So in this case, I don't really like the way it's looking, because if we get a confirmation low, a confirmation high, a lower high right here, a lower high would be so bearish, guys, and then a lower low would be also bearish, and then we can start making lower lows and lower highs, and we're going to start calling this a pivot point structure. And if we got bearish divergence right here on the 4-hour, it is even more of a concern that we roll over here on Arweave. Okay, so hold on, because you can see that the momentum is trending to the downside. Look at the purple line, it is trending to the downside, and it's not a good look. When I see that, look at the green expansions in the background. Okay, let me just put this down a second, and you can see the green expansions in the back on the oscillator. You can see those expansions. Every time the bulls decided to expand to the upside, we were getting smaller and weaker expansions, even though the price is rising. And finally, look at this expansion, and we double top pretty much. Okay, slightly higher high, divergence, even on the expansions and on the momentum. Who's to say on the 4-hour we can come down for another dead cat bounce and get down to about 2450, and at worst case scenario fall through this bigger volume gap and come down to about 2250? That's what I would be worried about in the immediate short term. Now, of course, you can start zooming out and you can say, but Mike, we could even fall lower and hunt liquidity down here, guys, level by level. If we start bouncing down, you have decisions. Am I buying the dip? If you're going to buy blindly without a structure, basically trying to catch this falling knife as it's falling, small bags only. 10% here, 10% over here, 10% over here, and little by little your average cost will be here. As soon as we form a bottom-like structure that suggests reversal, and again the rounded bottoms, right, that get me excited, is because we're usually getting into an accumulation phase on lower time frames, and we don't know where this is going to happen. It could happen down here, it could happen right here, it could happen anywhere. What do we have to do? We got to be patient to wait for the signal that perhaps Arweave is done rolling over. Now, once again, I don't know if it's going to roll over, but I can see that the momentum is getting divergence. Now, I just want to quickly say something, because what's so important to understand is that in bullish conditions, in bull runs, divergences get invalidated more frequently. Okay, and we've seen this even in the bear market. In the bear market, how many times did the bullish divergences get invalidated? A lot. So this is where things kind of change, because you cannot rely on oscillators only to make trades. You need to look at market structure. If market structure is shifting from bullish to bearish, showing you a change of character in the price action, that's your first cue to start looking into oscillators. Not the opposite, looking for oscillators and then look for, entries on price targets, right? Now, of course, if you want to look for overbought conditions and then look at the market structure, okay, that's fine. Just look for overbought when you see everything's frothy and overbought and, all up here as it was right here at this level. Fine. If you want to start looking for entries, that's fine. But ultimately, you can see that if you would have went short at these levels, as soon as we only got overbought, you would have gotten wrecked. Why? Because there was still a little bit more gas in the gas tank to get the bulls to slightly higher levels and ultimately create those divergences. Now we're waiting for follow through to the downside, and as we slowly reverse and we start to come down and get that follow through, entertain your short positions, especially on the dead cat bounce where we could get a confirmation high, a lower high. Okay, so that's the logic about all of this. No guarantees here, but we could, and there's other bullish scenarios. Let me entertain some bullish thesis, because there is, and the bullish thesis is that we flag out right now. Okay, that we do not fall. and the momentum, this momentum gets invalidated, and we see the chop zone hold support, which we've done in the past. A little bit of chop zone support here, chop zone support here. What about if we get chop zone support here? The chop zone is the 50% mark on the oscillator. If we get support again, let's say maybe that was a little bit too long. Okay, let me just be a little bit more realistic. Let's say we come down and then we pop up again. We don't even need to make a higher high on the momentum. We don't need to go higher. Even if it's a lower high, that's fine. The price action can still go for a higher high. Okay, and that's reality. That's another drive of bearish divergence, right? So this is what I'm talking about. We can get multiple drives of bearish divergence, and everybody's that's going short in this area eventually gets wrecked. It's the accumulation and distribution ranges that get most people wrecked. So it's good to get the follow through confirmations. Now, from a bullish perspective, if this still hangs out here for a little while, this is going to be a bull flag, and which would be absolutely healthy, which this is why DCAing right here and having a stop loss underneath the flag, like right around here, is healthy, because it could be a continuation where we see Arweave move to the upside and continue pushing up. And it could be that we see the momentum get overbought again. Now we see the volatility line here at the bottom. It is bottomed out. Maybe we're going to see it push up again. I would like to see what kind of move the bulls have left in them to actually see the price get back up. I usually like to see the volatility line, which is the orange line, break above the solid green. Once we break above the solid green, it's a bit of a more confident that we are moving to the upside, because if not, we could still hang out here at the bottom. As you can see in the past, we could hang out at the bottom a little longer than expected. Okay, so I like to see it cross over and then feel that confirmation. So before we move on, before I conclude here, I want to zoom out and just show you what this looks like on the big picture, because the big picture is important. Okay, big picture meaning, let's go back on the daily and look at what we're really talking about. We're talking about a continuation from this level, and this level you can see right about $29. There's a lot of emotional resistance here based on the volume. The volume ends right around $29. So let's put a horizontal here and understand that currently the price action is dealing with a very emotional zone. Okay, so this emotional zone has to be considered and factored into your trading strategy, because we are at an emotional level where we could potentially flag out here and eventually offload some short-term traders that, you know, bought here and sold out, that want to take profit, which is totally healthy, but ultimately pick up some more bullish bids so that we continue to the upside in a very strong way. Even though we looked very frothy here, I don't even see the momentum extremely overbought. Look at the purple line. We can go up for another move and see this thing break above the 70 like we have done in the past. That's bullish. Okay, so this is one thing that we have to understand. Maybe this is a little bit premature, and what we're currently looking at on the daily is just a breather, a back test, and even still, again, if you look at the price, it could be that's over and we spring and we continue. So what I'm trying to say here is, guys, if we break below this little volume gap, be prepared to buy the dips at 23. If we do not, be prepared that this could be a bull flag for a continuation to the upside. Very easy confirmations, very easy strategy, and this is why I like the Arweave chart at the current moment. Continuation is very possible. If you think about this in comparison to what the market has been doing, Arweave really hasn't done much, really, right? It just popped up a little bit from the breakout, maybe a bit of a back test, maybe not, and then continuation to the upside it is. Ultimately, spot bags are the best, or if you're going to get into lower time frames with higher leverage, just trade this little structure that I showed you here on the lower time frames with that bull flag and continue to the upside if it's meant to be. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Guys, if you want me to do a deep dive on any project that you have in mind, join the Discord. It's absolutely free. You're gonna vote. We vote on all the deep dives, and you're gonna request any deep dives that you're interested in. Take care, guys. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.